Hello and welcome friend. In this tutorial we will try to look at if statement. If statements are statements, conditional statements which evaluates certain conditions, and if those conditions are true it will execute some statements. So if you look here, it's a generic form if and then followed by space and then there is a bracket, and inside the bracket you can give some expressions which will evaluate. Make sure after bracket you have a space at the beginning, and before you close the bracket, there is a space at the end, and then followed by statements. The same thing can be written in a slightly compact way if conditional expression, and instead of then being in a new line here, you could write in a same line, but you have to terminate with semicolon before you go ahead and write then it would complete. So if conditional expression semicolon then and then statement 1 statement 2, so this first form and the second form are equivalent. It's just two different notations. Then there are other things like if you have a conditions, you can execute some statement, and then if those conditions are false, in case of false you can execute some other statement. And then this is another form in which you have some expressions which will be evaluated. Based on the evaluations whether it's true or false, it will execute this. Now let's suppose if this is false, then it will go ahead and try to execute this condition and see whether evaluate this condition and see whether it is true or not. If this condition is true, then it will execute this, otherwise it will come back. And this is more generic form which has all the things. So if statement, it will evaluate expressions, and if it is true then it will execute statement 1 2 3 up to n number of times. If this expression is false, it will not go here, it will jump to else condition. So mind it, this is like else if, but in bash it's used as a shorthand notation called elif, but exactly the usage is of else if in other programming language. So this is like else if, but you cannot write else if, you have to write elif. Now elif conditions, and if this condition is true, it will go here and execute this statement. If this condition is false, then it will go to the else statement and execute the else statement. Also you will notice that if is followed by then, which is like opening brace, and then if is closed by 5. So if is always closed by 5 in all the statements. You will see if is closed by 5, even in our basic generic form if then and then 5. So you have to remember this. Now here if you see here, after elif there is a then, but in else there is no then, so you have to make a note of that. So let's quickly go through some of the example for this, and then we'll come back and do some more. So this is my generic form. I have a variable count which is set to value 32, and here I have put one expression which is count greater than 0. So if you see here 32, this dollar count will evaluate to 32. So 32 is greater than 0, which is true. If this is true, it will print count is positive, and it will print my working directory and pwd. So here for printing I am using echo, and then there is another statement called printf. Printf was not available in earlier bash shell, it was added very recently, but now it is there, so you can use it. It is much better than echo in the sense that in between the statement like this string literals you can put \n, very similar to what you do in C printf. In echo you cannot write \n inside this, you have to have split it into multiple echo statement. In printf you can write it in one statement. So that's about printf, but we are doing about if statement. So if this is true, so this is true, and it will print count is positive. Let's run this. So it is saying count is positive, and it's also printing my working directory which we have given as a statement. So we have given count is positive, and we are printing $pwd. Pwd is an environment variable, and it picks the value from environment variable pwd, present working directory, and whatever my present working directory is, it displays. So far so good. Let's look at another example. This example is same as what we saw in the previous. The only thing is there is a else part here. Now earlier we were evaluating this as true. Now this time let's make it as a false. So count, I set it to -3. So -3 is greater than 0. It's not true. -3 is less than 0. So this statement expression is false. So it will say count is negative. So let's run this. T2, count is negative. So good. Now let's run another example. Go through another example and see. So this is my another example. Here I have count equals to 3 and the condition I have is $count greater than 0. -3 greater than 0, then count is positive. So this is false because -3 is not greater than 0, it's less than 0. So it will come back and evaluate the elif part. Now in elif part it evaluates that $count which is -3. -3 is less than -2. Of course -3 is less than -2, so it would print count is less than -2. So if we run this program, it will say count is less than -2. We have already run by mistake in the previously, so it's giving that. Now let's look at one more example. Now let's suppose we are demonstrating all the three parts here: if, elif and else part. So now I set the value of count to -1. So -1 is greater than 0. Wrong. So it will not evaluate and it will not go here. Now -1 is less than -2, which is again false because -1 is greater than -2. So it will not go here. So then what will happen is it will fall back and execute this statement. So it says count lies between 0 and -1. So let's run this program and it says there is another statement here which we will do, and this is OR conditions. If we want to add multiple conditions together, then we can do a OR statements. So if we have expression 1 and we want to say whether expression 1 or expression 2, if one of them is true, then evaluate the statement. So we have this OR statement or conditions, and then similarly we have AND conditions. So let's try to go through the examples between those two quickly. So we have this T5. Now I have a vegetation name fruit. Now this time I am using strings rather than numbers, just for the sake of doing. There's no reason, but I'm just to be different. Now fruit name is orange. So I have two variable, vegetation and fruit name. Now I'm checking $vegetation name. So if you see in my previous example, when we were doing a comparison for numbers in shell script, you have to do comparison with less than, equals to, greater than, those kind of things. But in string you have to say equals to. So mind it, it's equal to, not equals to equals to. So actually this is a comparison. This equals I have put here is actually like equals to equals to. So it's not an assignment operator, it's a comparison operator. So in shell script, equals to means comparison operator inside the if statement, conditional expression, not anywhere else. So even equals to will work as part of backward compatibility, but this is more generic. So if when you do a comparison, you have to say equals to rather than equals to, but equals to will also work. So what it means here is it will say $vegetation, which is a name, fruit. So if fruit equals to fruit, which is true, so this will evaluate to true. So there is no point in going to OR statement, because whether this is false or true, it will still execute. And so this is true, so it will skip the remaining part and we will say it is fruit. So let's run this program. So this is conditions T5 and this is a fruit. Now let's go to another example, and this time we are using AND. So same thing, everything remains the same. We just say AND fruit name equals to banana. So let's see, vegetation name fruit is true, but fruit name whatever is there, this will evaluate to orange. So it will say orange equals to banana. So when it is AND, it will evaluate expression 1 as well as expression 2, but here expression 1 is true, which is okay, and then expression 2 becomes false because fruit name is orange orange equals to banana is false. So if this is true and this is false, this is false, so it will not go here, it will print this statement, it's something else. So if we run this program, it will print me it's something else. So that's how you combine multiple expressions to make it. And just to demonstrate that you can use equals to, you can run the same program and you will have the same output. You will have the same output. So you can use either equals to or equals to. So shell knows that inside the shell, if you have if conditions, and as part of if conditions you have some expressions, that expressions equals to is actually equals to, it's not an assignment. So that's all for this video. In the next video we will try to look at some of the file handling operations with respect to if conditions, like we have to check if a file is a block device, character device, a special device, and whether it's a regular file or it's not a regular file. We will try to handle some of those expressions with respect to if statement. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. You have a nice day. Bye bye.